It doesn't get much better than reruns of The Office, and sometimes you notice things you never caught before. From creepy clown paintings to Call of Duty screen names, here are some of the best Easter eggs to look out for the next time you settle in to watch America's favorite workplace in action. Even the most casual viewers of The Office know that the American series didn't begin with an original idea. It's a remake inspired by a British show by the same name. This original series ran from 2001 to 2003 and focused on the fictional paper company Wernham Hogg in the British town of Slough. The American show takes place in Scranton, Pennsylvania, but it still has a connection to its British cousin's hometown. In the Season 5 episode Blood Drive, Michael pulls together a depressing little Valentine's Day shindig for all of his single co-workers, harboring secret hopes that he will be able to reconnect with the woman he met earlier in the day. As he shows off the flyer he's created for the event, the camera zooms in, revealing that the address for Dunder Mifflin is 1725 Slough Avenue. The address seems to be a nod to the location of the original Wernham Hogg paper company. It's not a one-time incident either. In the last episode of Season 6, Dwight refers to the street by name again.
Cancel it. I want you to make an offer at 1725 Slough Avenue. Make them an offer they can't refuse.
The story of Angela and Dwight's secret love is a long one, starting early on in the show and winding through several ups and downs before they finally tie the knot, Schrute style, while standing in their own graves in the series finale. Truly, they're the show's perfect match, to the point where they even seem to have the same favorite song. It's made clear from early on that Angela is a huge fan of the Little Drummer Boy. Every time a karaoke machine is fired up, that's the song she looks for. She even asks Sandy if they can use it for their first dance when they're planning their wedding.
Is there any way our first dance can be to my favorite song? The Little Drummer Boy.
With that in mind, it's interesting that in the pilot for the show, it's none other than the assistant to the regional manager himself who is shown aggressively humming that particular carol as he sets up for work.
No gifts for you.
Does this imply that the relationship between the two goes back even further than the beginning of the show? Either way, the connection seems too clear to be an accident. The whole teapot episode in Season 2 is an iconic moment in the Pam and Jim timeline. After Michael turns a simple Secret Santa Christmas party into an impromptu white elephant gift swap, Jim is frustrated to find that his romantically intentioned teapot gift for Pam has fallen into the hands of his nemesis, Dwight.
I get sinus infections, and sinus infections can be cured by making a tea from green tea leaf stems and pouring it directly into your nose, like so.
Pam ultimately makes the right move though, by choosing to exchange her fancy new iPod for Jim's thoughtful, if humble gift instead. But that isn't the only time that the gift appears in the show. Almost 2 years later, in the Season 4 episode Branch Wars, Pam meets with the exquisitely refined Finer Things Club. As the club enjoys their fancy lunch, the very same teapot Pam got from her soon-to-be beau shows up on the table. He is hoping it had been washed thoroughly, hopefully several times since Dwight shoved it up his nose. While the show focuses pretty tightly on a small handful of characters, the rest of Dunder Mifflin's employees usually have their own lives going on in the background, complete with their own long-running plots. Take, for instance, Stanley's troubled marriage, which only gets worse as the series goes on. The issue even comes to a head in the Season 6 opener, Gossip, in which Michael leaks a secret of Stanley having an affair to the entire office. While that episode ends with Stanley getting a small measure of cathartic revenge, it turns out that the struggling salesman actually does want to improve his relationships. Sort of. In the Season 7 episode, Ultimatum, Pam encourages her co-workers to come up with New Year's resolutions. Some of these are minor items, like Pam attempting to drink less caffeine, but others get pretty ridiculous, like Creed trying to do the perfect cartwheel, or Dwight's search for, well, let's just call it romance.
My resolution is meet a loose woman.
The resolution that has to take the cake, though, is Stanley's double commitment to, quote, be a better husband and boyfriend. Each of those on their own is an admirable goal, but it might be pretty difficult to pull off both at the same time. As the last 2 seasons of The Office unfold, Dwight slowly but surely sees his life fall into place in virtually every way. He finds love, unwittingly has a son, gets his black belt, inherits a 1,600-acre beet farm, and finally, at long last, becomes the regional manager of the Scranton branch of Dunder Mifflin. It's not just the big stuff though. Dwight's life is so perfect at this point that even his smallest, most obscure wishes start to come true. Case in point, the rocking chair. When Dwight accompanies Michael to a cocktail party at David Wallace's house way back in Season 3, he spends time admiring a wooden rocking chair in Wallace's son's bedroom and declares that he wants one for himself.
Oh, good, you're up. Hey, who makes this chair?
Cut to Season 9, more than half a decade later. In the episode The Farm, Dwight is interviewed as he sits in a gorgeous wooden rocking chair, which just so happens to look exactly like the one he was wishing for 6 seasons earlier. Michael Scott is proud of his possessions, and nowhere is this made more clear than in the Season 4 episode Dinner Party, in which Michael exhibits his pathetically small plasma screen television.
I will just stand here and watch television for hours. I love it. I love this TV.
Later in the episode, Jan throws one of Michael's many Dundie Awards at it, cracking the screen and infuriating Michael in the process. That isn't the last time we see Michael's beloved and broken miniature TV though. The wall-mounted wonder made a cameo a year later, tucked behind another TV, in the 5th season episode Dream Team. If that wasn't enough, it shows up yet again nearly 2 whole seasons later in the episode Garage Sale, sitting plain as day on Michael and Holly's table. It looks like the more grounded influence of Holly may have finally convinced Michael to let go of his prized entertainment possession once and for all. As an interesting little side note, the Garage Sale also shows the creepy clown painting first seen when Jim buys Pam a house in season 5. Hopefully, whoever bought it was able to keep it out of the hands of the notorious Scranton art thieves.
I tried to move it, but he is really nailed in there. Worried about art theft, I guess. A lot of art thieves in this neighborhood.
In the season 2 episode The Injury, Michael Scott wakes up and steps on his George Foreman grill, cooking his foot in the process. While the injury is minor, he ends up milking it all day long. When asked why he had a George Foreman grill by his bedside in the first place, he explains that every night before he goes to sleep, he lays out 6 pieces of bacon on a grill in his bedroom. When he wakes up, he pops on the grill, goes back to sleep, and then wakes up a second time to the delicious smell of sizzling bacon.
It is delicious, it's good for me, it's a perfect way to start the day.
It appears that Michael's morning bacon habits die hard. The grill shows up yet again 2 seasons later in the season 4 episode Dinner Party, as Michael and Jan give Jim and Pam a rather uncomfortable tour of their bedroom. For all of her quirky, erratic behavior, Jan's apparently okay with the smell of bacon each morning, after it's been sitting out all night. A good portion of season 3 follows Jim as he tries to get away from his crush on Pam and attempts to begin a new life at the Dunder Mifflin branch in Stamford. One episode, The Coop, follows the Stamford squad as they practice team-building exercises by playing Call of Duty against each other. The group is highly skilled at playing the video game at this point, but the Scranton newcomer spectacularly fails to get on the bandwagon.
Saboteur! I'm gonna kill you for real.
In order to give her new co-worker a hand, Karen shows Jim how to navigate out of a corner, only to shoot him a moment later. That's when we get to see her screen name for these inter-office death matches, Karen the Gym Slayer. Pretty specific, but also pretty appropriate. Michael Scott has been known to bend the truth from time to time, and that's to be expected from a guy who was Dunder Mifflin's top salesman for 2 years running back in the day. When it comes to his management skills though, the man seems a bit more insecure, and determined to prove a point. There's the famous World's Best Boss mug that he bought himself, one of the first things we see in the show's pilot. But that's not Michael's only dubious claim to fame. A plaque holding a certification can frequently be seen on the wall of his office. Sharp-eyed viewers may note that it's not a diploma, it's a certificate of authority for his watch. Even better, judging by the slightly misspelled brand name, it identifies Michael as the proud owner of a knockoff. While the writing on the certificate can be difficult to make out, there's one episode where it's clearly visible, and it makes for an often overlooked second layer to a gag. You can see it in the season 4 finale Goodbye Toby, which also happens to be the same episode in which Michael is forced to give his watch to Toby as a goodbye present after being an awful boss for so many years.
I am going to give Toby
your watch.
If that's not poetic justice, we don't know what is. There's a good portion of the series devoted to the ongoing duel between assistant regional managers. In one corner of the ring, we have the obvious candidate, Dwight Schrute.
And that's where you have an assistant regional manager.
Yes, it is. Assistant to the regional manager.
Same thing.
No, it's not. It's lower, so
It's close.
His endless pursuit to escape being the assistant to the regional manager doesn't quite end until he leapfrogs the entire issue by being made the full-blown manager in season 9, at which time he appoints himself as his own assistant to the assistant to the regional manager. In the other corner, we have Jim Halpert. While he does spend some time as co-manager in season 6, Jim actually climbs a corporate ladder to the assistant regional manager position much faster than that. In the season 3 episode, The Wally, Jim, Karen, and Andy have to work late and end up drinking a bit too much while they're at it. At one point, the camera shows Jim passed out on his desk with his nameplate card in front of him. It reads Jim Halpert, Assistant Regional Manager. Not a single "to-the" in sight. Seems we have a winner. Most of the time, Creed is the one in the office who isn't quite what he seems.
I run a small fake ID company for my car with a laminated machine that I swipe from the sheriff's station.
However, in one episode, it's none other than Jim Halpert who seems to have a secret identity. As all truly devoted fans will recall, Season 4 kicks off with Meredith Palmer being struck by Michael Scott's car. It's a banner incident in the show that kicks off a running joke and even makes it into the montage of incidents referenced in the Seasons of Love parody that the crew sings to Michael at his very last Dundee ceremony, right before he exits the show in Season 7. When Meredith returns to work after the accident in the Season 4 episode Launch Party, she asks Jim to sign her cast. He agrees before realizing that Meredith's injured pelvis has presented him with a pretty unusual place to sign a cast. needless to say, is a little uncomfortable, even without Meredith's awkward flirting. So uncomfortable, in fact, that it might just have broken Jim's character. As he awkwardly signs his name, fans might notice it looks an awful lot like it says John Krasinski rather than Jim Halpert. He even dots 2 I's when he's finished. His character's name only has 1. The Schrute family is well known for its sense of tradition, longevity, and attention to detail. While this can be seen in everything from the venerable Schrute Farms family home to Dwight's impeccable work performance, there's one thing that sums it all up perfectly: the American flag. Not just any American flag, though. We're talking about the one flying from the porch of Schrute Farms. When some of the group visits Dwight on his family farm in the episode Doomsday in Season 8, they pass a flag on their way out. If you look closely, it's missing some stars, 35 to be precise. The 15-star flag was used between 1795 and 1818, which also happens to be the period during which Schrute Farms was founded. The accuracy isn't just fun to spot, it's also appropriately located on the home of the most likely person in the entire office who would care about a detail like that in the first place. The Season 5 episode The Surplus follows the office as they struggle to decide how to spend a budgetary surplus before it reverts back to corporate. The decision splits the group into 2 factions, one in favor of getting new chairs, the other for getting a new copier. Critically, Pam and Jim find themselves on opposite sides of the discussion, making this one of the few times that the newly engaged couple are pitted against one another. At one point, Oscar and Jim take Michael out to lunch in order to schmooze him about the benefits of getting a new copier. When they return, Jim brings Pam some tiramisu from the restaurant. Pam jokingly takes the gift with a smile, only to then throw it into the garbage can in defiance. Clearly, Pam will not be bought off with fancy cake. The back and forth is comical, but it turns out that the delicious dessert hasn't hit the end of the line quite yet. A bit later in the episode, Michael is seen eating tiramisu as he talks to David Wallace on the phone. Then, to bring it all home, during a big speech designed to cover the fact that he's shooting for a bonus by returning the surplus to corporate, Michael reveals where he got his snack from as he berates the office for being spoiled.
We are spoiled because we throw out perfectly good tiramisu because it has a little tiny hair on it.
The most surprising thing? That's not even the weirdest food choice Michael makes in this one episode. Every show has its list of slip-ups and continuity mistakes. The Office, for instance, will occasionally show an exterior shot with a suspiciously Californian palm tree on what's supposed to be a chilly morning in Scranton, Pennsylvania, something that's especially noticeable in Season 3's Traveling Salesman. There are a few others that slipped through the cracks though, and you can spot one in Season 8's Pool Party. In the episode, the staff heads over to Robert California's house after hours in order to throw one last party before he sells the home off to the highest bidder. While most of the crew spends time taking advantage of their boss's luxurious indoor pool, another group is taken on a long, boozy tour of the mansion, led by Mr. California himself. As they go along, observing each room and sucking up to California as he endlessly monologues, each member of the tour is gifted with their own bottle of wine, recklessly taken from the soon-to-be-sold wine cellar. At one point, as they observe a king-size bear rug made from 2 bears sewn together, Oscar takes a swig from his bottle, only to reveal a note on the bottom that reads Oscar that wasn't there earlier. Either the accountant is extremely particular about labeling his things, or somebody forgot to remove the prop label before the camera started rolling. The Office is known for having some of the best cold opens in sitcom history. Michael and Dwight's attempt at making a parkour video, Michael's truly incredible, wildly gift-worthy reaction to Toby's return, Randall Park's appearance as Asian Jim for one of the most elaborate entries in Jim and Dwight's ongoing prank war. They're all classics, but one of the best cold opens for the show takes place in the Season 3 episode Product Recall. In it, Jim arrives for work decked out in an outfit that makes him look just like Dwight. From the dorky haircut to the glasses, short-sleeve shirt, and beeper, the entire ensemble is on point.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
After his initial arrival, Jim explains that he got the outfit on the cheap, spending just $4 on the glasses and pulling the rest of the pieces together for a mere $7 extra. According to the total that he adds up on his Dwight-esque calculator watch, the grand total for the prank was a very affordable sum of $11. It's a memorable joke, and one of the highlights of the series. But what really puts it over the top is a subtle moment that we're treated to at the end of the episode. Angela, frustrated by a day of filling in on customer service calls, rips into Kevin for failing to add up the numbers on a payroll form correctly. The numbers in question? The same ones added up on the calculator watch back in the cold open. 4 plus 7. That's a little too specific to be a coincidence. So we're left with one amazing fact. Not only did Jim pull off an A+ prank, but he also managed to get reimbursed for it as a business expense. Hey, if Michael can spend company money hand over fist for all those big dinners at the local Chili's, then Jim should be able to expense costs incurred while boosting office morale. The only question left is whether Dwight thought to file those same forms when he dressed up as Jim. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.